Hello and welcome to the Lost Pines Workshop. I'm JC Jensen. So this is Build a Classic Dresser, episode 15, a layout for the Halfblind Dovetails. In this case, for our drawers. All right, so here's an example. This is a shop cabinet drawer that I'm working on. Here's what we're shooting for, right? Halfblind. I'm going to show you the way that I do it that allows me to achieve both a nice joint, decent layout as far as number of tails, pins, as well as how I fit the drawer sides as part of the joinery, how it's going to help us get that perfect fit into the cabinet. All right. Okay, so with our drawer pieces, all milled, processed. In our last episode, we fit the drawer face and the sides. We planed smooth the inside surface, and we cut our grooves. So now we are ready to begin actually laying out for our half blinds. We're going to start off by determining the reveal, or how deep the tailboard will penetrate the edge of the drawer face or the pin board. I've chosen to go with my pencil mark here. I'm just a smidge over an eighth, right? That's what I'm comfortable with. When you do these oftentimes with machines, they're only going in like halfway. All right. Well, it looks nicer with that shorter reveal. All right, these are hand cut, so let's do that accordingly. All right, so I'm just going to take my marking gauge, and from the inside face, I'm going to set it there. Lock it in, and then along this edge, from using the inside face as the reference, we'll draw that line along the edge. Let's hit that again. Hold it flat. Ingrain's proving a challenge this morning. All right, like so. And I'll come down to this other end. Inside face. All right, like that. All right. So I've marked. Yeah, you can see that. All right. That's step number one. That establishes the depth of the relationship between the tailboard to the pin board. All right. Now on the sides, I'll start with the left side. Now I'm only doing the front as half blind. Back of our drawers are going to be through dovetails. Using the same setting. Here on the tailboard, we're going to scribe. Lightly on the outside. All the way around that one. lightly across the outside. We just want to be able to see it, right? But we don't want to, when we plane these off for the final fit, we hope to remove that line. So you just want to go enough so you can see it. Right on? Okay. Now we've established that. So next, I'm going to take my shoulder plane and shave this, create a little rabbet right along this edge. What I've done here is I simply took a cut off piece of wood and I've clamped it so that this flat edge is right on that line we created with the marking gauge. That provides for this shoulder plane a reference surface or a reference edge so that I can cut through this line. Make sure this is nice and tight, which right at the moment it's not. Let's throw another one on. There we go. Nice and secure here. Clamps are all out of the way. So now I'm just going to make a few passes. Now there. More here. All right. So I'm also keeping track of the number of passes that I make so that I can do the other side the same way. So they're even. All right. So for me, that was 3 passes. Clean that fuzz off. And what it does, this does a couple of things for us. Get out of the way. Right, it's just a smidge, right? All I'm doing is creating just enough of a shoulder right here to give me a reference edge when it's time to lay out our pin boards. Right, it'll butt up next to the pin board. That's one. 2, the second thing it does for us when we go to mark our pin boards, it's going to make this easier for me to get the saw through at an angle, and you'll see when I get there. But it's got a couple of multi-functions. It's not required, but I find it useful. All right, so I'll repeat this process on the other one, and we'll move on. So now with the grooves cut on both of the sides and only on the front for the half blind, before I go any farther, I'm going to go ahead, since I still got my marking gauge set for our depth here, remember the reveal, I'm going to use the same setting on the back, even though the thickness of my sides and back are less than the front. It's okay. It's going to work out just fine. There's no reason not to. And yeah, I'm just being, to some extent, a little bit lazy. So I'm going to mark, good mark here on the inside. This is the back of this drawer side. And I'm only going to mark the inside face and lightly across the outside face. I'm not going to do the ends this time. All right, because we're doing, I'm doing a through dovetail, but I'm going to do it a little different. All right, so there's that one. And we'll do this other side the same way. A little bit more right there. There we go. Like so. All right. So now we'll just start with the left side. Outside facing me. So now I've got the left side front in my moccasin vise here, and we're going to figure out the layout. So my sides are 7 inches, and the front of this drawer is 8. So it'll be a little funky. But this is the bottom, and we're referencing off of the bottom edge always. All right. Using my marking gauge, I'll go down here on the inside of our groove. All right, so I want to make sure that this groove is totally encapsulated inside of this tail. I've mentioned this before. All right, I don't want the tail getting cut off short. So here's the bottom of the tail, the line where we put our rabbet. I want something like this, and I'll draw it on here so you can see what I'm talking about. All right, so here I'm about halfway-ish across this area, but the tail does not terminate inside of the groove, slightly outside. All right, so with that, back on here, I'm going to transfer that across the top. And on the outside here. Go the right way. There we go. From our line, from our baseline, up. All right, there's that. Now I take my first set of dividers, and I'm going to set my dividers to that width from the line to the outside edge. All right, now I'm going to take this and I'm going to transfer it to the other end. Like so. I'm going to make a mark. Right there. My marking gauge, 1 6. Clear as mud. All right, so there we go. So now I'm going to determine using my second pair of dividers, starting from here. And I'm just going to step across, not making any mark. It's 2. Oh, I lost count right off the bat. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4. The long. So I'm going to bring this back in. Oh, that was too much. And we'll do it again. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, see, I went too far. Back it off. Do it again. 3, 4, 5. Perfect. So I'm shooting for landing right even with the end. All right. And as I talked about previously, it gives me 5 tails, that odd number. All right. So I'm going to go, now I'm going to make a mark. 1, 2, goodness. Hold eyes. 2. Be nice if I could go deep with these, but I guess I could on this end. Since it's the half blind side, they'll get covered up anyway, but Just good practice. All right, and we came out. So now start at this end, starting on the line. Go back the other way. 1, 2, 3. Right here. Now I don't have to change. I'm not going to change those ever. All right, and then we'll mark these out. Make sure we're on the right side. 1, 6. There we go. All right, starting here. Across the top. Every other one. Hold still. Reverse course. Got the shakes this morning. And one more. Yeah, looks good. Now I'll take this and mark the waist. Oh, I missed one. This way. There. And same thing here. All right. Show you what that looks like. All right. So we've got our layout. All our waist is marked. And as you can see, the groove is encapsulated inside of this tail all the way down. All the way down here. All right, fully encapsulated. Looks great. All right, so I'll transfer these and do the same thing on the other side. All right, so with that transferred onto the other side, I like to just use a piece of tape right along this baseline in preparation to cut because it helps me see it much clearer. You could use a pencil or a pen and mark that baseline so that you can see it, but this works well for me. All right, so now we're going to drop this guy in here. Take the square, make sure that it's plumb. Get it tightened up in the vise here. Grab our dovetail saw. And now we'll cut out these tails. All right, we're going to preserve the line. And I'm going to cut all of them this direction, and then I'll come back and cut them all this direction. Efficient carpentry. All right. I want to set it on the line, or next to the line. Preserving that line. Get my angle. Right down to the baseline. All right, and fuzz off. There we go. All right, then we just do the same. We'll cut out the other ones, and we'll move on. Okay, so next we're going to set our marking gauge. We're done with that initial setting. I'm going to, just so you guys can see, I'm going to reference off the outside face to set my marking gauge. Notice that I'm measuring off of the rabbeted end, not the thicker part of the body, because the rabbeted end is what's fitting in our half-blind dovetail. And I'm leaving the cutter head about a 32nd, between a 64th and a 32nd of an inch shy of the full thickness. All right, that way when this when the half blind is assembled, the tailboard will be slightly outside or protrude, right? And then once we've glued it up and we're ready to go, we'll plane this outside surface down to the pins, which we've properly fitted in our opening, and everything will be nice and smooth. All right, so the more you leave, all right, like I said, I left somewhere between the 64th and the 32nd. If I was to make that even farther, the farther back I come, the more material I will have to plane. All right, so you want to plane some, but you don't want to spend all day trying to plane the outside face so it fits back in the hole. All right, so I've got this locked in. Now, with this locked in, I'm going to use this to mark the inside face of the drawer front. Like so. The inside face only. All right, come down here and I'll do the same thing. Hold still. Bigger drawers are challenging. This time, I should have done it on that one. I know that my drawer side is an inch short, so I'm going to stop my mark short so it's not visible when I'm done. All right, so I've got those two done. The inside face. The back of the drawer will be the same. This is the back, outside, bottom. Oops. Remember this, the back is going to be a through dovetail. On through dovetail on the back, we will mark the front, the inside and the outside. Groovy? So now we're ready to mark out our pin boards. I made this little chicken scratch drawing here to try to help you understand what we're doing. So I've got my pin board in the vise with the outside of the drawer face, the outside drawer face facing me, right? This is the bottom edge, which is our reference edge. Here's the groove that we cut out for the drawer bottom. All right, so I'm going to use my Sean shim, which has an offset of 24 thousandths of an inch. You could use your marking gauge set to the thickness of your saw kerf if yours is different. And what we're doing, my first, referencing off of the bottom reference edge of the drawer, I'm going to offset the tailboard to my right and then come in with my marking knife, and I'm going to mark the left side of the tail. Left side, left side, left side, left side. Then I'll flip it around and, or I'm sorry, I'll slide it the other way. I will offset by turning my Sean shim over 24 thousandths. I'll offset the tailboard to the left. Then I'll come back and cut the right side of the tails, the dotted lines. All right? Bang to bang. So what does that actually do for us? Well, in utilizing the offset method, what we're doing when we offset to the right to begin with, what we're doing is allowing, we're growing this, we're kind of sort of growing the pin a little bit. If I was simply to lay this on there square and cut or mark and cut the pin board straight through where these are parallel, this, when it's straight on like that, it does not account for the material that we removed. So consequently, what will happen is when you actually assemble these two pieces, your joint will be loose by that thickness of your saw kerf. By utilizing the offset method, we're accounting for the thickness of that kerf in material that's removed from the pin board so that our joint goes together nice and tight. I hope that kind of helps explain it. Here's how I've done it on, I said I did it on paper. I hope this helps, but now I'm going to do it for real. So now looking at it for real, here's my drawer face. The outside, the face of the drawer is facing me. Here's that overlay that we marked previously. The shoulder of the tailboard is resting tightly against the back edge of our drawer. And like I said, this is 7 inches. This is my 8. I've left the extra material at the top. What's important here, we want our bottom edges, once assembled, to be nice and flush. Okay? So I've taken my shim, my Sean shim, placed it against the bottom edge of the drawer face with the shoulder tied up against the back of the drawer. I simply offset, I'm using the fat end of the gauge, offsets the drawer side slightly to the right. All right, I hold that in place. In my case, I actually have it clamped. I take my marking knife, which is actually a saw, right? And the blade thickness of this is 24 thousandths of an inch, the same as my dovetail saw. Groovy? Now, I took my pencil, you guys can't, you can see that one, and I put an X next to the left sides of each of these tails so that I don't mark it wrong. All right, and I simply come in here, make my first pass, kind of like to do that, clean out the material from cutting that tail, and then we're just going to mark out this half blind, being careful, being really careful not to cut out here. Right? We don't want to cut past our reference line here, or our baseline, because this edge, this is our finished edge, and we don't want a mark in it. We want it to stay nice and clean. All right, so I'll go down in here, make sure I get a nice clean saw kerf into this end of the drawer, and working that tip until it penetrates the back side. You can't see, this one I can feel. I can feel the very tip of my marking gauge penetrating between the two pieces, sticking out the back. All right, that's going to allow me to take my dovetail saw and lay it right in that kerf and go to town. All right, so I'll do this all the way across, and then we'll offset it the other way and do the other side. That's good. All right, so with all of the left sides cut, I take the shim, 24 thousandths, place it back on here. Now I'm offsetting to the left, so I will cut, now I'll cut all of the right sides all the way across. Make sure I'm on the base. I'll start right there. Hold everything nice and tight. All right, so when we're done, we'll look something like this. As you can see, I didn't get all of these kerfs cut to the line, but that's okay. I didn't go over the line, and when I spin this around, you'll see better. But my saw lays right in this kerf, so when it's time for me to cut it, it just drops right in there. Right? It's perfect. So I'll mark the other end the same way, and then we'll cut these. Show you how we cut these and what we do next. Take our handy dovetail saw. As I said, we just drop it in the groove. See, I've got my tape for my visual reference for the bottom, and then I went ahead and took my pencil and ran it through our baseline mark on the top. So my saw positioned, dropped it in there, I'm in line, my board is perfectly plumb. I have a very light grip on the saw, I'm just going to follow, well, yeah, like that. Very gently down to the line, the baseline here. Clean up the top. See? Cut right up to the line at the top. And I'll do the same method as before, cutting all one direction and then coming back and doing the other. Okay, I'll use my kerf extender. Just like this, just like we did the half blinds on the case. And yeah, we'll go ahead and do these. Okay, so what we're doing with the saw, we were able to cut at an angle. We were only able to get, you know, part of the way through. With the extender tool, I'm able to finish that cut to the back, to the bottom. Again, you can use a card scraper if that's what you prefer, or if that's what you have. But I like this because it's a lot more solid, and it's got a real nice handle. If your card scraper's good and sharp, you run the risk of cutting yourself. All right, I'll show you what I'm going to do. I'm going to do this one. I'm going to add something to the equation for that one. So if we got some background noise, it's it's rain in Texas. Imagine that. All right, so I'm a little worried about this last pin splitting off. Now that one, let me grab a clamp. So just to give this a little support, I'm not going to crank it down super tight. I'm just giving it some lateral support so it doesn't break off. And I run this tool down through there. Just a little higher like that. There we go. And rather than going for the full bite, I'll just nibble it. Work my way back a little at a time. So we don't fracture that grain. Come on, get in there. Right there. Oh, you slid back on me. Back in there. Like that. All right. There we go. So now these are we just chopped these out like we did on the case. Same operation. All right, so I'm going to flip this around, do the do the other end, and we'll go from there. All right, I've clamped the tailboard back in, so we'll cut out the waste on these. We'll get ready for the chopping process. Okay, now with that done, flip it over. I'll use this one because it's handy. All right, so get our line there, and the marking gauge. Take our chisel and just create a kerf. Come on, get out of there. Lay the saw in the kerf. And there you have it, layout using the offset method for cutting our half-blind dovetails for the drawers. All I got left to do is chop the two side pieces and the two ends of the drawer face. We're ready for the next step. So in our next episode, we'll dive into cutting the through dovetails on these same on this same drawer, and do it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more times. Right on. So if you like this video, please remember to hit that like button. Until next time, have a great day. We'll see you down the road.